McLaren in full rebuild mode. Following a dismal start to the Formula One season, it's all too tempting to dismiss McLaren's newest restructure as an unavoidable reaction to its present problems. The first two races, where the Woking-based team selfishly kept the last few places to themselves after big expectations were placed on them to perform, mostly for Lando Norris, proved that McLaren needs changes from the core, and it needs them fast. Well, they are happening. What are they and what can they change? Stick around to the end to find out. When a new Formula One car fails to impress, senior technical specialists who were responsible for its success often leave the sport. McLaren, on the other hand, had been planning the departure of technical director James Key and the recruitment of a new technical management team for some time before the MCL60 even visited the track. In a press release revealing the alterations, McLaren CEO Zak Brown made a cryptic reference to this possibility. "It has been clear to me for some time that our technical development has not moved at a quick enough pace to match our ambition of returning to the front of the grid," he said. "I'm pleased that, having completed a full review with Andrea, we are now able to implement the restructure required to set the wheels in motion to turn this around." The changes occurred after McLaren employees began raising concerns about the company's future in the middle of last year. But it was the departure of team leader Andreas Seidl in the winter and the subsequent elevation of Andrea Stella that prompted the kind of in-depth examination that revealed the scope of the necessary transformation. McLaren's upper management, taking a long-term view of the company, believed that the team's lack of development from 2021 to 2022 showed some underlying faults in the way things were being run. These concerns have now been verified with the release of the team's newest car. The reports concluded that McLaren's performance in 2019 and 2020 was due in large part to the solid foundation the company put in place during that time period. McLaren used the same car for both the 2020 and 2021 seasons, with the latter year seeing an engine switch from Renault to Mercedes. However, the organization's strengths were obscured by its good form until the start of the new regulations era in 2022. As a result, there was more discussion about its structure after McLaren's momentum slowed down last year, and the team appeared to fall further behind and not really recover as the season progressed. They questioned the wisdom of appointing Key as sole technical director and questioned whether or not they were making the most of the expertise of veterans like Peter Prodmaro. After Stella's thorough examination of the team's infrastructure, it became clear that more drastic changes were required if McLaren was going to make the most of the opportunities presented by its new wind tunnel and simulator. Stella's idea was further spurred into action when he learned during the winter that his former colleague, David Sanchez, was interested in joining from Ferrari. So, how did McLaren's management structure change? It's fascinating that McLaren, a company that has experimented with many different organizational models, has decided to abandon the single technical director model. During the time of Ron Dennis and Martin Whitmarsh, it was notorious for its matrix management structure, in which once distinct roles were combined and responsibilities were spread over a larger group of employees. Brown and Andreas Seidl arrived in 2019 and decided to scrap that setup because they believed things would function more efficiently with a single technical director. As Seidl said at the time, "I've always been a friend of simple, traditional and clear hierarchies. Going back to a system of there being 3 technical chiefs would appear to be going back on that call, but McLaren thinks that such a plan makes much more sense now." With Stella coming from an engineering background, it has in place a team principal with the technical know-how to oversee matters on that front and have the scope to do things differently. That means that having 3 experts in their field, Sanchez on car concept, Prodmaro on aerodynamics and Neil Holdy on engineering and design, all working together should help it become stronger as a whole than having a single technical chief spread thinly across all those elements. With the promotion of Piers Thin to the position of Chief Operating Officer, COO, Stella has established clear lines of responsibility between the factory and the race team. This will allow the team to focus on racing while receiving the best possible support from Woking while they are away at Grand Prix events. As Sanchez won't be joining McLaren until 2024 at the earliest, unless McLaren negotiates an early release from Ferrari, the full effect of the recent restructuring may take some time to materialize. But with its wind tunnel and simulator coming on tap over the next few months and a future-proof structure now settled, the roadmap for the next few years is at least now clear. Internally, McLaren wants to finish this year in P4 in the championship, fight for podiums in 2024, and then be battling for wins in 2025. There may be some short-term pain to go through before then, especially as it waits for upgrades to come through for its current car, but there seems a belief from its current chiefs that it finally has in place what it needs to achieve its targets. As Brown said, these strategic changes ensure the long-term success of the team and are necessary to see McLaren get back to winning ways. We have everything coming into place now with our people and infrastructure, and alongside an exciting driver lineup. I'm determined to see McLaren get back to where we should be. McLaren has spent too much time in the last year or so telling us to wait for this really excellent item that is definitely coming in the future, whether it be the new wind tunnel and simulator for 2025 or the planned improvement in Azerbaijan that is vital to upgrading its 2023 car. In fact, McLaren has been looking so far into the future that its goal of having no excuses by 2025 was beginning to seem like a convenient alibi for its current problems. There is no turning back now. Clearly things can't just keep being kicked down the road. McLaren is making these adjustments now because it wants to be a competitive team in 2025, not because delaying that goal by a year or two would be acceptable. McLaren has admitted that it has been underperforming in the new ground effect era, and it remains to be seen if it has made the appropriate adjustments to deal with it. Yet doing nothing would have jeopardized the goal it has been working towards since setting in motion big infrastructure projects in 2019. This puts even more emphasis on the year 2025, but for a team like McLaren, procrastination is not an option. And what about Lando Norris? In Norris, McLaren knows they have a potential world champion on their hands, the Briton having joined the family in 2017, but Piastri, who they put so much faith in after luring him away from Alpine, is more of an unknown quantity in F1 despite his impressive success in junior formulae. The Australian made what Stella described as really strong progress in Jeddah, and Stella wants to see that trend continue. And Lando will not wait forever, as he is a talented driver who aspires exactly what we mentioned moments ago, to become a world champion. If McLaren cannot get their act together, it puts a huge question mark on whether Norris can achieve his goals driving the orange car. All of these changes beg the question: are they just for the sake of it, or the implementation of a flatter structure that learns from the mistakes of the past? Chances are, it's harder to make this kind of structure work well, but if you do, it could offer more potential. And if you don't have an Adrian Newey type in the system, something McLaren once had but lost, then you can see why this direction appeals. Either way, it's a big move from McLaren. The clock is ticking on its aspirations to re-emerge as a true frontrunner, which it realistically needs to do at the latest in the first year of the new regulations in 2026. That might seem far off, but what happens now and in the early months of this new structure will be decisive in whether it achieves that. What do you think? Can McLaren fight back this season and move away from the bottom? They certainly have a long-term project planned, but will it pan out in the right way? We are yet to see. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and see you next time.